Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Van Osdel, and today my presentation is over the cardiovascular system and pacemakers. So first off, I just want to talk a little bit about what the cardiovascular system and the heart actually do and why they're important. So the cardiovascular system can be thought of as kind of like the the ultimate delivery system for oxygen of the body. It delivers oxygen to cells throughout the entire body and is essential for ensuring that our cells remain healthy. And the heart is the central pump of the cardiovascular system and of the body. It is the main driving mechanism. It is pumping constantly, and it's a muscle, which is important because it uses electrical signals in order to pump and contract. So moving on to pacemakers. Um, so some problems that can arise with the heart are abnormal heart rhythms. An example of this is arrhythmia, and what this can sometimes lead to is high blood pressure. Now, the reason this is so dangerous is because when a person's high blood pressure is high due to their heart beating irregularly, their blood vessels can be damaged due to the excess force that is being applied to the walls of the blood vessels. So pacemakers work to correct these heart rhythms, and they do this by utilizing electrical pulses sent to specific parts of the heart depending on a patient's problem in order to recorrect this heart rhythm. So there's quite a pacemakers have been around for a while, but the current ones are either with leads or leadless being some of the newer ones. And leads are what are used to stimulate the specific muscles of the heart, and a leadless pacemaker is has the same function as a pacemaker with leads, except instead of needing these long wires to stimulate specific areas, the pacemaker itself is implanted directly to the target area of the heart and can transmit electrical impulses that way. So, talking about some of the engineering principles needed to successfully make a pacemaker, there's knowledge from multiple disciplines that is required to successfully construct a pacemaker that is effective and safe. For biomedical engineering, there's biocompatibility uh, knowledge that is needed of materials, as well as physiological knowledge of the cardiovascular system and the heart. For electrical engineering, there's circuit design knowledge that's needed, as well as signaling. And then for mechanical engineering, you got to know the material properties of the things you're putting in someone's body. So, talking a little bit about current work, these are some important figures from the articles, or not articles, from the research papers I read. Looking at the top left here, they actually designed a dual pacemaker system where one was implanted into the left atrium and one was implanted into the left ventricle. And these two pacemakers would talk to each other in order to achieve what is called atrioventricular synchrony to ensure that each part of the muscle is beating correctly with each other to ensure efficient blood flow. The top right here is showing a comparison of uh, lowered left ventricular uh, expulsion volume compared to with baseline and then at a 6-month visit. And we can see that a pacemaker lowers this volume by a significant amount. And then the bottom left corner here, they were doing a very similar thing, looking at systolic volume instead. And then bottom right, they were actually comparing pacemakers to something called catheter ablation, where a catheter is inserted into the heart in order to cause scarring on a specific region in order to prevent excess electrical signals from being propagated. And the reason I wanted to bring this one up in particular is just to show that there are multiple different methods out there for treating irregular heartbeats. And in this case, catheter ablation was actually more effective. And the reason I say that is because the primary endpoint for this was return visits to the hospital, and we can see that with a pacemaker, those return visits were higher. So challenges and future directions. Um, Safety and efficacy takes a long time to assess with pacemakers. These are a long-term implant. They are in a person for a very long time. So in order to properly assess that these things are working correctly, studies take a long time. So gathering knowledge from these studies can take years. Um, Sometimes sample groups are too small. Batteries are also important. Um, these pacemakers typically last only 5 to 15 years, leading to if a person needs a pacemaker young, they have to get a new one at that interval. So this can lead to frequent replacement and multiple surgeries. So, in conclusion, the cardiovascular system delivers oxygen throughout the entire body and is essential for cell health, and the heart is what drives this oxygen delivery. In order to properly engineer these devices, knowledge from multiple disciplines is required. And for current work, leadless pacemakers are on the newer side of pacemakers and are being studied. And efficacy and safety is always a concern. So that's the end of my presentation. Here are my references, and thank you for listening.